The postcard arrived at Jake's apartment exactly 365 days after he'd stood me up. 1 year to the day since I'd sat in my packed Subaru outside his house at 6 a.m., engine running, adventure playlist queued, watching him kiss his ex-girlfriend goodbye through his bedroom window. The same ex who'd suddenly needed him that morning. The same cross-country road trip we'd planned for 2 years. The same dream that died when I realized I was the backup plan to his backup plan. The postcard was simple, a panoramic view of the northern lights over Iceland. On the back, in my carefully practiced handwriting, lap one complete, thanks for the inspiration, Maya. What Jake didn't know was that mailing that postcard had cost me everything I'd ever owned, everyone I'd ever loved, and nearly my life 3 times over. But it had also given me something I never expected to find myself. Here's how it all went down. I should have known something was wrong when Jake stopped answering my texts about packing lists. For 2 years, we'd planned this epic cross-country road trip. 2 years of Pinterest boards, Spotify playlists, and splitting the cost of everything down to the last granola bar. We'd saved $8,000 together, researched every quirky roadside attraction from Maine to California, and I'd even learned to change a tire because Jake said, "What if we break down in the middle of a nowhere?" Stupid question, Jake. What if your best friend breaks down in the middle of your driveway? I'd been up since 4 a.m. that morning, triple-checking our route, making sure the cooler was stocked, practicing my "we're finally doing this" speech. My Subaru was loaded like a Tetris master's fever dream camping gear, snacks for a small army, and enough entertainment to survive 3 weeks on the road. At exactly 6 a.m., I pulled up to Jake's house, our agreed departure time. The house was dark except for one window on the second floor, where I could see 2 silhouettes moving around in a way that definitely wasn't hurriedly packing last-minute items. I sat there for 20 minutes, engine running, watching my best friend of 10 years choose someone else. Again. My phone buzzed. Jake. "Hey, Maya, something came up with Jess. She really needs me right now. Can we postpone?" Postpone. Like this was a dentist appointment. I stared at that text until my eyes burned. Then I did something that surprised even me. I started laughing. The kind of laugh that probably made my neighbors think I was having a breakdown. Which, fair enough, I probably was. I grabbed my phone and called him. "Maya, I know you're upset, but—" "Upset?" I interrupted, still giggling like a maniac. "Jake, I'm not upset. I'm having an epiphany." "An epiphany?" "Yeah, I just realized that in 10 years of friendship, you've never once chosen me first. Soccer tryouts in high school? You bailed to help Brad study. College graduation? You left early because Sarah needed a ride. My birthday last year? You canceled because Jess was sad about her dog. That's not— Her dog wasn't even dead, Jake. He had a cold." Silence on the other end. "Maya, you're my best friend. You know that." "No, Jake, I'm your backup plan, and I'm done being anyone's backup plan." I hung up and sat there for another minute, watching Jess's car in his driveway. Her car that had been there all night, based on the dew covering the windshield. That's when I noticed something else. Jake's hiking boots were on his front porch, still in the box. The expensive ones we'd bought together last month with money from our shared travel fund. The fund I'd been depositing into religiously for 2 years while working overtime at my graphic design job. I pulled up our shared bank account on my phone. The balance made my stomach drop. $1,247. We should have had $8,000. I'd put in $4,200 over 2 years. Where was the rest? I scrolled through the transaction history, and there it was. A pattern of withdrawals over the past 6 months. $200 here, $500 there, all coinciding with Jake's dates with Jess. He'd been using our road trip fund to wine and dine his on-again, off-again ex-girlfriend. I stared at my phone, then at his house, then at my car packed with enough supplies to survive the apocalypse. And that's when the really crazy idea hit me. Why drive across America when I could drive across the world? I spent the next 3 hours in a Starbucks parking lot, researching like a woman possessed. Turns out, it's completely possible to circumnavigate the globe by car. You just need a lot of ferries, some questionable life choices, and zero attachment to financial security. The plan was insane. Drive to New York, take a cargo ship to Liverpool, drive across Europe and Asia, ferry to Alaska, then drive down through Canada to complete the circle. Total estimated time 6, 8 months. Total estimated cost every penny I had, plus some I didn't. I called my boss. Maya, aren't you supposed to be on vacation? Hi, Steve. Quick question. If I quit via phone call from a Starbucks parking lot, do I still get my last paycheck? What? It's a hypothetical question. Hypothetically. Maya, what's going on? I'm having a life crisis, Steve. The kind where responsible people would call a therapist, but I'm going to circumnavigate the globe instead. Silence. Steve? Are you serious? Dead serious. I'm liquidating my life, effective immediately. Maya, you're one of our best designers. Don't do anything rash. Too late. I'm already drafting my resignation email. Thanks for everything, Steve. Don't replace me with someone boring. I hung up and started typing my resignation on my phone. Then I called my landlord. Hi, Mrs. Chen. It's Maya. I need to break my lease. Maya, what happened? Are you okay? I'm great. Never been better. I'm going on a little trip. How little? Around the world. Maya, I'll forfeit my security deposit, obviously. Can you start showing the apartment next week? Honey, are you having a breakdown? I prefer to think of it as a breakthrough. The next call was the hardest. Mom, it's me. Maya, how's the road trip going? Did you and Jake make it to... Jake bailed. Oh, sweetheart, I'm so sorry. You can come home and... Actually, I'm still going, but I'm making a small adjustment to the itinerary. What kind of adjustment? Instead of driving to California, I'm driving to... everywhere else. I explained the plan while my mother made increasingly distressed noises. Maya Elizabeth Chen, you cannot drive around the world because some boy hurt your feelings. I'm not doing this because Jake hurt my feelings, Mom. I'm doing this because I realized I've been living my life in the passenger seat. That's not, you can't just... What about your job, your apartment? Quit and breaking lease as we speak. What about money? I've got enough for about 6 months if I'm careful, and if I'm not careful, well, I guess I'll figure it out. Maya, this is insane. Yeah, I said, watching Jake's front door through my rearview mirror. I know. The next 2 weeks were a blur of bureaucracy and bad decisions. Turns out, you can't just decide to drive around the world. There are visas and vaccinations and international driving permits, and about 17 different ways to accidentally commit a felony in a foreign country. My passport had expired 2 years ago, so I had to pay through the nose for expedited renewal. I sold everything I owned on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. My furniture, my art supplies, my carefully curated book collection that had taken me 10 years to build. Everything had to go. The hardest part was my car. My beloved Subaru Outback, Thelma, wasn't built for international shipping regulations. I needed something smaller, more reliable, and with better resale value in case I ended up stranded in Mongolia. I found her on Craigslist, a 2018 Honda Civic that some college kid was selling to pay for tuition. Low mileage, good condition, and most importantly, small enough to ship without bankrupting me. You sure you want to sell this? I asked the kid as I handed over the cash. Yeah, I need the money for school, but I'm kind of sad to see her go. She's been good to me. Where are you planning to take her? He asked. Around the world. He laughed. That's a good one. I wasn't laughing. Jake tried to call me exactly once during those 2 weeks. I let it go to voicemail. Maya, I know you're mad, but this is crazy. You can't just disappear because you're upset about the trip. Jess and I broke up, okay? It's over. We can reschedule for next month. Call me back. I deleted the message without finishing it. My parents staged an intervention 3 days before I was supposed to leave. Maya, sit down, Dad said when I walked into their house for what I'd told them was a goodbye dinner. Uh-oh, I said. This feels very intervention-y. Because it is, Mom said. We're worried about you. I'm fine. You quit your job, sold all your possessions, and you're planning to drive around the world alone because a boy hurt your feelings, Dad said. That's not fine. That's a mental health crisis. Dad, I'm 28 years old. I'm allowed to have a mental health crisis. Not one that costs $20,000. It's my $20,000. Maya, Mom sat down beside me. What happened with Jake was awful, but running away isn't the answer. I'm not running away. I'm running toward something. Toward what? I don't know yet, but it's got to be better than this. I gestured around their living room, which hadn't changed since I was in high school. Same furniture, same family photos, same beige walls. What's wrong with this? Dad asked. Nothing. But it's not mine, Dad. I've been living my life on other people's schedules, in other people's spaces, for other people's dreams. When was the last time I did something just because I wanted to? They exchanged the look that said their daughter had finally lost it. Maya, Mom said carefully, you don't have to drive around the world to find yourself. You could take a vacation, go to a spa, see a therapist. I've been to therapy, I've been to spas. You know what I learned? That I'm really good at talking about my problems and really bad at actually solving them. So your solution is to drive through countries where you don't speak the language alone, with no backup plan. Yes. Maya, Mom, do you remember when I was 8 and I wanted to learn to ride a bike? Of course. And Dad kept insisting I needed training wheels. Because you kept falling down. Right. And I kept falling down because I was afraid of falling down. But then one day, when you guys weren't home, I took the training wheels off myself and just went for it. And you crashed into Mrs. Patterson's rose bushes, Dad pointed out. But I learned to ride a bike. And I learned that sometimes you have to crash into a few rose bushes to figure out what you're made of. This is bigger than rose bushes, Maya, Mom said. Yeah, it is. But the principle's the same. They tried to talk me out of it for another hour, but I could see in their eyes that they knew I was going, with or without their blessing. Finally, Dad sighed. If you're really going to do this crazy thing, at least promise me you'll check in every few days. I promise. And if you get in trouble, I'll call. And if you run out of money, I'll figure it out. Mom hugged me so tight I thought she might crack a rib. I love you, you stubborn, ridiculous girl. I love you too, Mom. Don't die, Dad said, and I'll do my best. The cargo ship from New York to Liverpool was nothing like the romantic ocean voyage I'd imagined. It was more like being trapped in a floating warehouse with questionable plumbing and food that could charitably be described as edible. But I wasn't alone. First time shipping a car overseas? Asked the woman sitting across from me in the ship's tiny passenger lounge. She was maybe mid-30s, with short dark hair and the kind of deep tan that comes from years of actual sun, not spray bottles. Everything about her screamed professional adventurer, from her worn leather jacket to the passport that was thick with stamps. Is it that obvious? I asked. You keep looking out the window like you're expecting to see your car floating by. I might be having mild separation anxiety. What's the plan once you get to England? Drive across Europe and Asia, catch a ferry to Alaska, then drive home. She raised an eyebrow. Circumnavigation? That's the idea. Solo? Yep. Ballsy. I like it. She extended her hand. Elena Martinez, Maya Chen. What's your story, Maya Chen? Bad breakup, quarter-life crisis, witness protection? I laughed. More like best friend crisis. He ditched our road trip for his ex-girlfriend. Ah, the classic. So you decided to show him what he's missing by driving around the world. Something like that. Elena leaned back in her chair. Can I give you some advice? Shoot. Don't make this about him. The minute you make your adventure about proving something to someone else, it stops being your adventure. Then what should it be about? Whatever you discover along the way, but here's the thing. You can't discover anything if you're looking over your shoulder the whole time. You sound like you know from experience. Something flickered across her face, but she covered it with a smile. I've been traveling solo for 8 years. You learn things. 8 years? Don't you miss having a home base? Home is overrated. I tried the whole domestic thing once. House in the suburbs, steady job, fiancé who wanted me to have his babies and bake casseroles. Nearly killed me. What happened? I woke up one morning and realized I was disappearing, like literally becoming invisible. So I left. Just like that. Just like that. Best decision I ever made. Over the next few days, Elena became my unofficial mentor in the art of solo travel. She taught me how to spot pickpockets, how to negotiate with mechanics in sign language, and most importantly, how to trust my instincts. Your gut is smarter than your brain when you're traveling, she said as we watched the English coast appear on the horizon. Your brain will talk you out of the best adventures and into the worst trouble. Your gut knows the difference. What if my gut is wrong? Then you'll have a great story to tell. We disembarked in Liverpool on a gray Tuesday morning that felt like the universe's way of saying, "Welcome to Europe. Hope you brought a sweater." My Honda looked ridiculously small and American next to all the tiny European cars, but she started on the first try, which I chose to interpret as a good omen. "Where are you headed first?" Elena asked as we loaded our luggage. I was thinking Scotland. I've always wanted to see the Highlands. Mind if I tag along for a few days? I'm headed that direction anyway. I hesitated. Part of me had been looking forward to the solitude, the chance to figure out who I was when I wasn't being someone's best friend or daughter or employee. But Elena was easy company, and I was nervous about my first days driving on the wrong side of the road. "Sure," I said, "but I'm warning you, I might cry a lot or laugh maniacally. I'm not sure which." "Honey, I once drove across Mongolia with a German woman who spoke no English and cried every time she saw a horse. You'll be fine." Driving through England was like being inside a postcard. Rolling green hills, stone cottages, sheep that looked suspiciously well groomed for livestock. Elena navigated while I wrestled with roundabouts and tried not to clip any hedgerows. "So, what's your story?" I asked as we wound through the Cotswolds. 8 years on the road is a long time. Some people collect stamps. I collect experiences. That's not really an answer. It's the only answer you're getting right now. There was something guarded about Elena, like she was always holding something back. But I figured everyone had their secrets, and I wasn't exactly an open book myself. We spent 2 days in Scotland, hiking through the Highlands and staying in hostels that Elena somehow always knew about. She had this way of walking into any place and immediately becoming friends with the locals. In a pub in Glencoe, she spent an hour discussing sheep herding techniques with a farmer named Duncan, who bought us enough whiskey to float a small boat. "How do you do that?" I asked later as we stumbled back to our hostel. "Do what?" "Make friends everywhere you go." Easy. I ask people about their lives and actually listen to the answers. Most travelers are so focused on telling their own stories that they forget other people have stories too. "Is that why you won't tell me yours?" She stopped walking. "Maya, there are things about my life that could put you in danger if you knew them. The less you know, the safer you are." "What kind of danger?" "The kind that makes people disappear." She said it so casually that it took me a second to process what she meant. "Elena, what exactly do you do for a living?" "I'm a freelance journalist. I write travel pieces for magazines." "That doesn't sound dangerous, eh?" "It is when you write about the wrong things." We drove through France without incident, though I'll never forgive the French for making their highway signs so beautiful that I kept getting distracted and nearly missing exits. Elena was unusually quiet, checking her phone constantly and scanning the rearview mirror like she expected to see something. "Everything okay?" I asked as we stopped for gas outside Lyon. "Fine, just tired." But she didn't look tired. She looked scared. That night in our hotel, I woke up around 3 a.m. to find Elena's bed empty. I found her on the balcony, smoking a cigarette and staring at the parking lot. "Can't sleep?" "Maya, I need to ask you a favor." "Okay." "If something happens to me, I need you to go to this address." She handed me a piece of paper with an address in Prague written on it. "Ask for Anna. Tell her Elena sent you. She'll know what to do." "Elena, you're scaring me." "Good. You should be scared. This isn't a game." "What isn't a game?" But she was already heading back inside. Elena disappeared in Prague. I woke up in our hostel to find her bunk empty and a note on my pillow. "Maya, had to go. Don't look for me. Trust no one. The address I gave you is only for emergencies. Stay safe. E." I stared at the note for a full minute, waiting for this to make sense. Then I checked her stuff. Gone. All of it. Like she'd never been there at all. I sat on my bunk, holding the Prague address she'd given me, and tried to figure out what to do. Part of me wanted to drive straight to the address and demand answers, but Elena had said emergencies only, and technically this wasn't an emergency. It was just confusing. I decided to stick to my original plan. I'd drive through Eastern Europe, then head toward Russia. Elena was a grown woman who'd been traveling alone for 8 years. She could take care of herself. That was my first mistake. I spent the day exploring Prague alone, trying to shake the feeling that someone was watching me. Every time I stopped to take photos, I'd catch glimpses of the same people in my peripheral vision. A man in a blue jacket, a woman with short blonde hair, a teenager who kept checking his phone. By evening, I was convinced I was being paranoid. Until the woman with blonde hair sat down across from me at dinner. Maya Chen, she said in accented English. Who's asking? A friend of Elena's. She sent me to find you. Elena left this morning. I know, that's why I'm here. No. She was maybe 40 with the kind of sharp features that suggested Eastern European heritage. Everything about her screamed, "Don't mess with me," from her leather jacket to the way she sat with her back to the wall. What do you want? Elena told you to trust no one. That includes me. But right now, I'm the only thing standing between you and some very dangerous people. What dangerous people? The kind that make journalists disappear. My stomach dropped. What kind of journalist is Elena? The kind that writes about things people kill to keep secret. She leaned forward. Maya, Elena's been investigating a human trafficking ring that operates through Eastern Europe. She's been undercover for 2 years. Undercover? But she said she was a travel writer. That's her cover, and now her cover is blown. What does this have to do with me? They think you're working with her. The restaurant suddenly felt very small and very crowded. I scanned the room, trying to spot the watchers Elena had taught me to look for. I'm not working with anyone. I'm just a tourist. I know that, you know that, but they don't know that, and until they figure it out, you're in danger. Who are you? Someone who used to be in Elena's position. My name is Anna. Anna, the address Elena had given me. I need to get you out of Prague tonight, Anna continued. They're planning to pick you up tomorrow. Pick me up? Maya, these people don't ask questions first. They ask questions after you wake up zip-tied in a warehouse somewhere. I felt like I was going to throw up. This is insane. I'm just trying to drive around the world. Wrong place, wrong time. Story of my life. Anna signaled the waiter. We're leaving, now. What about my car? What about your life? Anna's idea of getting me out of Prague involved a midnight drive through back roads that definitely weren't on any tourist maps. My Honda followed her beaten-up Volkswagen through countryside that looked like the set of every horror movie ever made. Where are we going? I asked when we stopped for gas at a station that looked like it hadn't been updated since the Soviet era. Romania. I have contacts there who can help you get to Russia safely. What about Elena? Anna's expression darkened. Elena knew the risks. Is she alive? I don't know. That's not exactly reassuring. Maya, in this business, I don't know, is better than definitely not. Romania was where everything went to hell. We'd been driving for 6 hours when my car started making a noise that sounded like a dying robot. Anna pulled over at a gas station in what appeared to be the middle of nowhere and popped my hood. Well, I asked. Well, you're fucked. How fucked? Your engine is about to seize, you need a mechanic. In the middle of Romanian nowhere at 2 a.m.? I know a guy. Of course she did. The guy was named Dmitri, and his garage looked like the set of every movie where someone gets murdered in Eastern Europe. Tools that could double as torture devices, cars in various stages of decomposition, and an overall ambiance that screamed, "Abandon hope, all ye who enter here." But Dmitri seemed nice enough. Mid-50s, covered in motor oil, with the kind of smile that made you want to trust him. American car, he said, examining my engine. Very complicated. Can you fix it? Of course, but parts, expensive, and time, also expensive. Anna and Dmitri had a rapid conversation in what I assumed was Romanian. Anna's face grew increasingly tense. What's he saying, I asked. He can fix it, but it'll take 3 days and cost more than your car is worth. What are my options? You can leave the car and find another way to continue your trip. Absolutely not. You can wait 3 days and hope the people looking for you don't find this place. Also not ideal. Or you can trust Dmitri to help us disappear. What does that mean? Dmitri smiled and said something to Anna that made her go pale. What? I demanded. He says he knows who's looking for you. How would he know that? Anna and Dmitri exchanged another look. Because, Anna said slowly, he's one of them. The next few minutes were a blur of running, shouting, and regretting every life choice that had led me to this moment. Anna grabbed my arm and we sprinted toward her car, while Dmitri yelled something behind us that definitely wasn't "have a nice day." "Get in!" Anna shouted, diving into the driver's seat. "What about my car? What about your life?" For the second time in 24 hours, Anna made a compelling argument for prioritizing survival over material possessions. We tore out of Dimitri's garage like we were being chased by demons, which, metaphorically speaking, we probably were. Anna, what the hell is going on? Dimitri's been feeding information to the trafficking ring for years. Mechanics see everything, where people are going, what kind of money they have, whether they'll be missed if they disappear. So he was going to probably drug you, load you into a shipping container, and sell you to the highest bidder. Jesus Christ. Welcome to the reality of what Elena's been fighting against for 2 years. We drove through the night, stopping only for gas and bathroom breaks. Anna was constantly checking her mirrors, taking random turns, doubling back on our route. Are we being followed? I asked. Probably. That's not reassuring. Nothing about this situation is reassuring. As the sun came up over the Romanian countryside, Anna pulled into a truck stop and turned to face me. Maya, I need you to understand something. Elena didn't just disappear, she was taken. Taken? 3 days ago in Budapest, she'd gotten too close to something big. Why didn't you tell me this before? Because I was hoping we could get you to safety before you had to make a choice. What choice? Elena's still alive, as far as I know, but they're using her to draw out anyone who might be working with her. Like me, like you, and like me. So what do? Anna stared out at the truck stop where drivers were loading and unloading cargo that could contain anything. We have 2 options. I can put you on a bus to Budapest and you can fly home and forget any of this ever happened. Or we find Elena. You said yourself that it's a trap. It is. But Elena risked her life to expose these people. She's the only journalist who's gotten this close to the truth. What truth? That this trafficking ring isn't just some random criminal organization. It's connected to government officials, police, business leaders. It goes all the way to the top. I thought about Elena, who'd spent our journey teaching me to trust my instincts and be brave, who'd disappeared to protect me from something I hadn't even known existed. If we try to find her, I said, what are our chances of actually helping her? Honestly, maybe 20%. And our chances of getting killed trying? Significantly higher. I closed my eyes and tried to imagine what Elena would do in my position. Then I tried to imagine what the old Maya would do. The Maya who always chose the safe option, who never rocked the boat, who lived her life in the passenger seat. Anna? Yeah? Let's go find Elena. The plan was simple in the way that all terrible plans are simple. We'd use me as bait to draw out Elena's captors, then somehow rescue her without getting ourselves killed in the process. This is the stupidest plan I've ever heard, I said, as we drove toward Budapest. You got a better one? Literally anything else. Maya, these people have spent 2 years trying to catch Elena. Now they have her, but they know she had help. They're not going to kill her until they're sure they've caught everyone. So we walk into their trap and hope for the best? We walk into their trap with a plan. Anna's plan involved a lot of fake identities, burner phones, and contacts she'd built up over years of doing whatever it was she did before she started helping people escape human traffickers. What did you do before this? I asked as we checked into a hostel in Budapest under fake names. I was a prosecutor, specialized in organized crime. What happened? I got too close to the truth, started getting death threats. Then my apartment was firebombed. Jesus. That's when I decided to switch sides. Instead of trying to prosecute these people through a corrupt system, I started helping their victims disappear. How many people have you helped? Enough to know that what we're about to do is either very brave or very stupid. Probably both. That night, Anna made a series of phone calls in multiple languages while I sat on my hostel bunk and wondered how my life had gone from designing wedding invitations to planning a rescue mission in Eastern Europe. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Maya, it's Jake. I've been following your Instagram posts. Where are you? Are you okay? I stared at the text. Jake. The reason I'd started this whole insane journey in the first place. It felt like hearing from someone from a past life. I showed Anna the text. Don't respond, she said immediately. Why not? Because if they're monitoring your communications, which they probably are, you'll lead them straight to anyone who cares about you. He's in Ohio. How could they? Maya, these people have resources you can't imagine. They can track communications, hack social media accounts, find out everything about your life within hours. I thought about Jake sitting in his apartment in Ohio, probably worried about me for the first time in our friendship. Anna, what if something happens to me? What if my parents never find out what happened? That's why we're going to make sure nothing happens to you. And if we can't, then Elena's death will mean nothing, and these people will keep destroying lives. The next morning, Anna's phone rang at 6 a.m. We've got a problem, she said after hanging up. What kind of problem? Elena's been moved. They're taking her out of the country tonight. Where? My contact thinks they're heading for Moldova. There's a compound there where they process people before shipping them elsewhere. Process? You don't want to know. How long do we have? Maybe 12 hours. That's not enough time to mount a rescue. No, but it might be enough time to intercept them. Anna's new plan was even more insane than the first one. We'd ambush the transport vehicle on a rural road outside Budapest, free Elena, and somehow escape without getting shot by the armed guards who were almost certainly protecting the cargo. Anna, this is suicide. Probably, but Elena would do it for us. How do you know? Because she already has. 3 times. Anna spent the day acquiring supplies that definitely weren't available at the local tourist shops. Bolt cutters, smoke grenades, and what looked suspiciously like a handgun. Where did you get all this? Old prosecutor contacts. Turns out some of them have been fighting this fight longer than I have. Anna, I should probably mention that I've never been in anything resembling a fight, let alone a gunfight. You won't be fighting, you'll be driving. That's not much better. Maya, you've driven across half of Europe in 3 weeks. You can handle this. That evening, we positioned ourselves on a back road about 20 kilometers outside Budapest. Anna had gotten intelligence that the transport would pass this way around 9 p.m. What if your information is wrong? I asked as we sat in Anna's car, watching the empty road. Then we go home and Elena dies. You have a real gift for making me feel better about our chances. Sorry, occupational hazard. At 9:15, headlights appeared in the distance. That's them, Anna said, checking her weapon. How can you tell? Black SUV, tinted windows, driving exactly the speed limit. No one drives exactly the speed limit on this road unless they're carrying something they don't want attention for. What's the plan again? I throw the smoke grenade. You ram their rear bumper to disable the vehicle. I get Elena out. We all drive away very fast. That's not a plan. That's a series of things that could go wrong. Welcome to rescue operations. The SUV was getting closer. I could see there was a second vehicle following about 100 meters behind. Anna, there are 2 cars. I see them. That's not good. No, it's not. Should we abort? Elena's been missing for 4 days. If we don't get her tonight, we might not get another chance. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel. Anna, I don't think I can do this. Maya, 3 months ago you were designing wedding invitations in Ohio. Now you're about to rescue a journalist from human traffickers in Hungary. You're stronger than you think. That's not strength, that's insanity. Sometimes they're the same thing. The SUV was 50 meters away now. Anna pulled the pin on the smoke grenade. On my mark, she said. 3, 2, 1, go. What happened next was chaos in the purest sense of the word. Anna threw the smoke grenade, I floored the accelerator, and the world exploded into noise and confusion. The impact was harder than I'd expected. Our car crumpled against the SUV's bumper, and both vehicles spun sideways across the road. Through the smoke, I could hear shouting in multiple languages and the sound of car doors slamming. Elena! Anna was out of our car and running toward the SUV before I'd even processed what had happened. I sat there for a second, stunned, until I heard gunshots. Real gunshots. The kind that meant people were trying to kill us. "Maya, start the car!" Anna's voice cut through the smoke. I turned the key. Nothing. Turned it again. The engine coughed and died. "Anna, the car won't start." More gunshots, closer this time. I saw Anna emerging from the smoke, half carrying someone who looked like they might be Elena. Both of them were moving in the awkward way of people who are either injured or drugged. "The other car!" Anna shouted. The second SUV had stopped about 50 meters away and armed men were getting out. This was not going according to plan. I abandoned our car and ran toward the first SUV, which was smoking but still running. Anna and Elena stumbled toward me through the haze. "Can you drive?" I asked Elena. She looked at me with eyes that weren't quite focusing. "Maya?" "Yeah, it's me. We're getting you out of here." "You shouldn't. They'll kill you." "Yeah, I'm getting that impression." Anna pushed Elena into the passenger seat and climbed into the back. "Drive." I floored it, and we tore down the road with the sound of bullets hitting the rear windshield. "Elena, are you okay?" I asked, checking the rearview mirror for pursuit. "They drugged me," she said, her words slurring slightly. "Maya, you shouldn't have come." "Yeah, well, I'm apparently really bad at making good decisions." "They're following us," Anna said, looking out the back window. "I can see that. There's a turn coming up. Take it." "Where does it go?" "I have no idea." The next hour was a blur of back roads, near misses, and increasingly creative swearing in multiple languages. Elena slowly came back to herself as the drugs wore off, and Anna directed us through a maze of rural Hungarian countryside that probably wasn't on any official maps. "We need to get to the border," Anna said as we finally seemed to lose our pursuit. "Which border?" I asked. "Any border. They have less reach outside Hungary." "What about Austria?" "Austria's good. About 2 hours if we stick to back roads." "Elena, how are you feeling?" "Like I've been drugged and locked in a basement for 4 days. But alive, which is better than I expected." "What did they want from you?" "Names, sources. Anyone who'd been helping me investigate." "Did you give them any?" "I gave them Anna's name, but only because I knew she was already blown." "Thanks," Anna said dryly. "Maya, why are you here?" Elena asked, turning to look at me. "Anna said you were supposed to be halfway to Russia by now." "Your friend Anna convinced me to help rescue you instead of continuing my circumnavigation." "Maya, this wasn't your fight." "Yeah, well, apparently I have a thing for other people's fights now." Elena was quiet for a moment. "What happened to your car?" "Currently being used as evidence in what I assume will be classified as a terrorist attack." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. It was insured." "Maya, Elena, you saved my life in Prague. You taught me to trust my instincts and be brave. This seemed like a good time to practice." We made it to the Austrian border without further incident, largely because Anna knew back roads that seemed to have been designed specifically for smuggling operations. "How do you know all these routes?" I asked as we finally crossed into Austria. "You pick things up when you spend years helping people disappear." "Is this what you do full-time now? Rescue people?" "Among other things." "What other things?" Anna and Elena exchanged a look. "Anna's not just a former prosecutor," Elena said. "She runs a network that helps trafficking victims escape and start new lives." "Like an underground railroad?" "Something like that." "And you never thought to mention this before?" "We don't advertise. The less people know about us, the safer everyone is." "How many people are in this network?" "Enough," Anna said. "And after tonight, one more if you're interested." "Me?" "You just helped rescue a journalist from human traffickers using nothing but a smoke grenade and a really bad plan. That's the kind of resourcefulness we need." "Anna, I'm a graphic designer from Ohio who quit her job to drive around the world because her best friend ditched her. I'm not secret agent material." "Maya," Elena said, 6 months ago I was writing puff pieces about luxury resorts for travel magazines. Sometimes you don't choose the fight chooses you." We spent the night in a safe house Anna knew in Vienna. It was a tiny apartment above a bakery, furnished with the kind of mismatched furniture that suggested it was used by people who never stayed anywhere long enough to care about decor. So what happens now? I asked as we sat around a wobbly kitchen table, eating sandwiches that tasted like heaven after our adrenaline-fueled escape. Now, Anna said, we figure out how to keep you alive long enough to finish your circumnavigation. Can I still do that? After tonight? They'll be looking for you for a while, Elena said. But eventually they'll assume you've either disappeared or you're not a threat. How long is a while? 6 months, maybe a year. Great. So I can finish driving around the world sometime next year, assuming I don't get murdered in the meantime. Maya, Anna said, there is another option. I'm listening. You could join us, officially. Doing what? Elena's story isn't finished. What she uncovered about this trafficking ring is just the tip of the iceberg, but she can't investigate it anymore. Her cover's blown. So? So we need someone new, someone they don't know about. I looked at Elena. What exactly did you uncover? Evidence that this trafficking operation connects to officials in at least 6 countries. But more than that, they're not just trafficking people for labor or prostitution. They're trafficking people for something else. What? I'm not sure yet, but whatever it is, it's big enough that they're willing to kill journalists to keep it secret. And you want me to investigate this? I want you to finish what I started. You have the perfect cover. You're just a tourist on a road trip. No one would suspect you of being an investigative journalist. That's because I'm not an investigative journalist. I make wedding invitations. Maya, Anna said, you just orchestrated a successful rescue mission after knowing these people existed for exactly 1 day. You're more capable than you think. I thought about Jake back in Ohio, probably wondering why I'd stopped posting photos on Instagram. I thought about my parents, who were expecting a call from me every few days to confirm I was still alive. I thought about my original plan, a simple drive around the world to prove to myself that I could do something brave. If I do this, I said, what happens to my circumnavigation? You finish it, Elena said. But instead of just taking photos for Instagram, you document everything you see. You talk to people, you ask questions, you follow leads. And if I find something, then we expose it. And if they find me first, then you disappear and we pretend we never met. I spent that night lying awake in a stranger's bed in Vienna, trying to decide between the smart choice and the right choice. The smart choice was obvious. Catch a flight home, go back to my old life, maybe try therapy to deal with the trauma of being briefly kidnapped by human traffickers. The right choice was less obvious, but somehow felt more honest. Elena had risked her life to expose something that needed exposing. Anna had built a network to help people who couldn't help themselves. They were fighting the good fight, and I was a graphic designer from Ohio who'd never done anything more dangerous than drive through Detroit at night. But I was also the woman who'd quit her job in a Starbucks parking lot and driven across Europe with a fake passport. I was the woman who'd learned to trust her instincts and be brave. Maybe that was enough. In the morning, I found Elena and Anna in the bakery downstairs, pretending to be tourists enjoying coffee and pastries. I have a condition, I said, sitting down at their table. I'm listening, Elena said. I want to finish my circumnavigation, all of it. If I'm going to investigate this trafficking thing, I'm going to do it while completing my original plan. That might actually work better, Anna said. Nothing says innocent tourist like someone who's documenting their drive around the world. And if I find something big enough to expose, then we expose it together, Elena said. And if I don't find anything, then you'll have driven around the world and helped some people along the way. There are worse ways to spend a year. I thought about Jake's text, still unanswered on my phone. I thought about the life I'd left behind, safe, predictable, small. Okay, I said, let's do this. Elena and Anna spent the next 2 days teaching me everything they could about investigative journalism in 48 hours. How to ask questions without seeming suspicious. How to document evidence without creating a trail. How to recognize the signs of trafficking operations. The most important thing, Elena said as we prepared to part ways, is to trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. What if my instincts are wrong? Then you'll have a good story to tell, but Maya, your instincts got you this far. Trust them. Anna gave me a satellite phone and a series of contact numbers for her network across Europe and Asia. If you get into trouble, call. If you find something big, call. If you just need someone to talk to who understands what you're doing, call. What about you two? What happens now? Elena's going to disappear for a while. New identity, new life until this blows over. And you? I've got other people to help, other fights to fight. Will I see you again? That depends on what you find out there. I bought a new car in Vienna, another Honda Civic, because apparently I was developing brand loyalty. I transferred all my camping gear and started planning the next leg of my journey. Across Eastern Europe, through Russia, and into Asia. But everything felt different now. I wasn't just driving to prove something to Jake anymore. I wasn't even driving to prove something to myself. I was driving towards something bigger than my own small life. The first lead came in Budapest, where a hostel owner mentioned that several solo female travelers had checked in over the past year but never checked out. They just disappear, she said, when I asked about it. Police say they probably just moved on to the next city. But these girls, they were planning to stay for weeks. They left all their things. I documented everything. The names she remembered, the dates, the descriptions. It felt like playing detective, except the stakes were real people's lives. The second lead came in Bucharest, where I met a truck driver who talked too much after too many drinks. You driving alone? He asked when he saw me at the gas station. Yeah, be careful. A lot of bad people on these roads. They look for girls like you. What kind of bad people? The kind that make girls disappear, but not just for sex, you know? Something else. Something weird. Weird how? But he'd already realized he'd said too much and walked away. Russia was a revelation. The country was massive beyond anything I'd imagined, and the people were nothing like the stereotypes I'd grown up with. They were warm, generous, curious about my journey, and eager to share their stories. But I also started noticing patterns. In small towns across Siberia, I kept hearing similar stories about young women who'd been recruited for jobs in Moscow and never returned. They promise good work, good money, an elderly woman told me in a village outside Novosibirsk. But we never hear from the girls again. Has anyone reported this to the police? She laughed bitterly. The police. They're the ones doing the recruiting. I documented everything, but I was starting to understand the scope of what Elena had been investigating. This wasn't just a criminal organization, it was a system, reaching into every level of society. Mongolia was where I met Batbayar. He was a nomad herder who found me broken down on the side of a road that barely qualified as a road, about 200 kilometers from the nearest town. My Honda had finally succumbed to the reality of Mongolian highways, which were more like suggestions of where roads might someday exist. American? He asked in heavily accented English as he approached my car. Yeah, and apparently very lost. Car broken? Very broken. He examined my engine with the kind of expertise that comes from fixing things with whatever materials happen to be available in the middle of nowhere. I can fix, he said, but you come with me tonight. Road dangerous alone. Batbayar's family welcomed me with the kind of hospitality that made me understand why nomadic cultures had survived for thousands of years. They fed me, shared their yurt with me, and treated my presence like a gift rather than an inconvenience. Why you travel alone? Batbayar's wife, Oyuna, asked through her husband's translation. I explained about my circumnavigation, about wanting to see the world and prove to myself that I could do something brave. They listened politely, but I could tell something was lost in translation. She says, Batbayar translated, that brave is not proving to yourself. Brave is helping others when it costs you something. Oyuna spoke again more urgently this time. She asks if you've seen other foreign women on roads, young women traveling in groups. Why? More rapid conversation in Mongolian, with both Batbayar and Oyuna looking increasingly troubled. Many girls pass through here in trucks. They say they go to China for work, but my wife's cousin, she followed one truck. The girls, they were... He struggled for the English word. Tied up? Chained like animals. Did you report this? To who? Police take money from truck drivers. Government takes money from police. Money comes from China, from Russia, from everywhere. What kind of work are these girls supposedly going to do? Batbayar and Oyuna exchanged another long conversation. Not work, he said finally. Something else. Something with. He pointed to his head. Their minds? Yes. They take smart girls, university girls, girls who speak many languages. For what? We don't know. But the girls who come back, they are different. Like their spirits are gone. That night, as I lay in my sleeping bag under the vast Mongolian sky, I called Anna on the satellite phone. I think I'm starting to understand what Elena found, I said. Tell me. I described what I'd learned, the patterns of disappearances, the corruption, the suggestion that the trafficking wasn't for traditional purposes. Maya, what you're describing sounds like something we've been hearing rumors about for years. What kind of rumors? Human experimentation, psychological conditioning. There are stories about facilities where they take intelligent, educated women and break them down, rebuild them into something else. Something else like what? We don't know. But there are reports of women being returned to their families after months or years, and they're completely different people. No memory of what happened, but with new skills, new languages, new programming. Anna, that sounds like science fiction. So did human trafficking until we started documenting it. What do you want me to do? Keep documenting, keep asking questions. But Maya, be careful. If what we suspect is true, you're investigating something that goes way beyond criminal trafficking. What do you mean? I mean, you might be investigating a government operation. China was where everything clicked into place. I'd been driving for 8 months now, following leads across 2 continents, documenting stories that painted a picture I didn't want to believe. But it was in a small city near the Mongolian border that I found the proof Elena had been looking for. I was staying in a hostel when I met Liu Wei, a university student who spoke perfect English and seemed eager to practice with a native speaker. You're traveling alone? She asked. That's very brave. So everyone keeps telling me. I wanted to travel, but my parents won't let me. They say it's too dangerous for girls like me. Girls like you? Smart girls, university girls, they say we disappear. Another pattern. I was getting tired of patterns. Liu Wei, can I ask you something? Have you heard of girls from your university being recruited for jobs? Good jobs with good pay? Her expression changed immediately. You shouldn't ask about that. Why not? Because people who ask questions about that disappear too. I'm just a tourist. I'm curious. No, she said, studying my face carefully. You're not just a tourist. We stared at each other for a long moment. Liu Wei, if someone was investigating these disappearances, would you help them? That would be very dangerous. But would you? Maybe. If I thought it would help the girls who have already disappeared. How many girls from your university have been recruited? In the past 2 years? Maybe 50? How many have come back? 3, but they're different. Different how? They speak languages they didn't know before. They have skills they never learned, but they don't remember anything about where they were. Liu Wei, where did these recruitment offers come from? She was quiet for a long time. There's a company. They recruit for international opportunities. Very prestigious. Very selective. What's the company called? Harmony International Solutions. Have you heard from any of the girls who were recruited? Only the 3 who came back, and they can't tell us anything useful. Can't or won't. Can't. It's like their memories were edited. That night, I researched Harmony International Solutions on my laptop. The company had offices in 12 countries and claimed to specialize in human resource optimization and behavioral modification services. Their website was full of corporate doublespeak about unlocking human potential and cognitive enhancement programs. But reading between the lines, it sounded like they were selling human programming services. I called Anna. I found it, I said. I found Elena's story. Tell me everything. I described Harmony International Solutions, the recruitment patterns, the girls who returned with their memories wiped and new skills installed. Maya, you found something huge. This isn't just trafficking. This is industrial-scale human programming. For what purpose? Think about it. If you could erase someone's memories and program them with new skills, new languages, new loyalties, what would you do with them? Spies, I said, the pieces finally coming together. You'd create perfect spies. or assassins, or saboteurs, or sleeper agents. Maya, you've uncovered a program that's turning kidnapped women into programmable assets. How do we expose this? Very carefully, and with a lot of help. The plan was ambitious. I would apply to Harmony International Solutions as a potential recruit, document their operation from the inside, then escape with evidence before they could complete whatever process they used on their victims. This is insane, I said, as Anna and I planned the operation via encrypted video calls. Completely insane, Anna agreed. But it's also the only way to get the kind of evidence that will bring this whole system down. What if they figure out who I am? Then you disappear and we lose the best lead we've ever had on this operation. And that's not exactly a pep talk. Maya, I'm not going to lie to you. This is the most dangerous thing you could possibly do, but it's also the most important. What about my circumnavigation? You're 3/4 of the way around the world. You can finish it after we expose these people. If I survive, if you survive. Applying to Harmony International Solutions was surprisingly easy. They were looking for educated, multilingual women between 25 and 35 who were seeking international opportunities and open to new experiences. I fit their profile perfectly. Graphic designer, college educated, spoke 3 languages, currently traveling solo across Asia. I submitted my application from an internet cafe in Beijing, using a cover story about being a freelance designer looking for more challenging work. They responded within 24 hours. Asterisk. Dear Miss Chen, thank you for your interest in Harmony International Solutions. Your background is exactly what we're looking for in our upcoming program. We would like to invite you to our facility in Shanghai for a preliminary interview and orientation. Please note that this program requires a significant time commitment, 6-12 months, and complete confidentiality. If selected, you will be compensated generously for your participation. We look forward to meeting you. Best regards, Dr. Sarah Chen, no relation, Director of Human Resources *. They're using a fake name, Anna said when I showed her the email. Dr. Sarah Chen doesn't exist in any medical or academic database. How do you know? Because Elena investigated her 2 years ago, it's an alias. For who? We don't know, but whoever she is, she's been running this operation for at least 5 years. Shanghai was like stepping into the future gleaming skyscrapers, bullet trains, and technology that made my iPhone look like a child's toy. But underneath all that progress, I could feel something darker. The Harmony International Solutions office was in a modern building in the financial district. From the outside, it looked like any other corporate headquarters. Clean, professional, forgettable. Miss Chen? A young woman in an expensive suit greeted me in the lobby. I'm Jennifer, Dr. Chen's assistant. Thank you for coming. She led me to an elevator that required a special key card to access the upper floors. Impressive facilities, I said, trying to make conversation. Dr. Chen believes in providing the best environment for human development, Jennifer replied with a kind of scripted cheerfulness that suggested she'd given this tour many times. Dr. Chen's office was on the 47th floor, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. The woman behind the desk was maybe 40, with the kind of ageless beauty that comes from good genes and expensive skincare. Maya, so wonderful to meet you in person. Her accent was American with hints of something else underneath. Please sit. Tell me about your journey. I gave her the cover story Anna and I had prepared. Freelance designer seeking new challenges, recently divorced, no family ties, interested in international work. Fascinating, Dr. Chen said, making notes on a tablet. And you're comfortable with long-term commitments? Extended time away from home? That's exactly what I'm looking for. Excellent. Maya, what I'm about to tell you is strictly confidential. We're developing a revolutionary program that combines advanced psychological techniques with immersive language and cultural training. That sounds interesting. Our clients are multinational corporations who need employees who can operate seamlessly in any cultural context. We don't just teach languages, we create deep cultural fluency through advanced conditioning techniques. Conditioning techniques? Think of it as accelerated learning. Instead of taking years to master new languages and cultural norms, our program can achieve the same results in months. How? Dr. Chen smiled. That's proprietary. but I can tell you that our graduates are among the most sought-after international consultants in the world. Can I speak with some of your graduates? I'm afraid not. Confidentiality agreements prevent our graduates from discussing their training. I see. Maya, I'm going to be honest with you. This program isn't for everyone. It requires complete commitment and absolute trust in our process. Some people find the experience challenging. Challenging how? The conditioning process involves temporary memory suppression while new neural pathways are established. You would wake up each day with no memory of the previous day's training. That sounds intense. It is, but it's also remarkably effective. When the program is complete, you'll have perfect fluency in 6 languages and deep cultural knowledge of 12 different countries. And I won't remember learning any of it? The learning will be integrated at a subconscious level. You'll have the skills without the memory of acquisition. I tried to look intrigued rather than horrified. How long does the program take? 6 to 12 months, depending on your natural aptitude. And during that time, I'd be here at our residential facility outside the city. Complete immersion, 24-hour supervision, optimal learning environment. Dr. Chen, this sounds amazing, but I have to ask, is this legal? She laughed. Maya, we're not kidnapping people. Everyone who participates does so voluntarily. You're free to leave at any time. Even if I don't remember wanting to leave. Our monitoring systems ensure participant safety at all times. Can I see the facility before I decide? Of course, Jennifer will arrange a tour for tomorrow. That night, I called Anna from my hotel room. I'm in, I said. They want me for their program. What did they tell you? I described the conversation with Dr. Chen, the claims about memory suppression and accelerated learning. Maya, they just described a mind control program. I know. You understand what they're planning to do to you? Erase my memories and reprogram me with new skills and loyalties. And you still want to do this? Anna, this is exactly what Elena was investigating. If I can document this from the inside. If you can survive it. Maya, once they start their conditioning process, you won't remember who you are or why you're there. Then we need to make sure I have a way to remember. How? I don't know yet, but I'll figure something out. The facility tour was even more disturbing than I'd expected. Located about an hour outside Shanghai, it looked like a cross between a luxury resort and a psychiatric hospital. Beautiful grounds, state-of-the-art facilities, and security that was described as for participant safety, but looked a lot like prison walls. This is our residential wing, Jennifer explained as we walked through a hallway lined with identical doors. Each participant has their own suite with all the amenities they need. Can I see one of the suites? Of course. The room was nice enough. Comfortable bed, private bathroom, desk, and sitting area. But there were no windows, no phone, and the door had a keycard lock on the outside. Very secure, I observed. We find that eliminating distractions helps with the conditioning process. And the participants are okay with being locked in? They don't remember being locked in. Each morning, they wake up refreshed and ready for a new day of training. Jennifer, can I ask you something? Do you know what happened to the participants who've already completed the program? They've all gone on to successful international careers. But you can't tell me who they are? Confidentiality agreements. Right. We toured the training facilities, language labs, cultural immersion rooms, and something called the integration suite that Jennifer described as where the magic happens. What exactly happens in the integration suite? That's where Dr. Chen and her team work with participants individually to ensure optimal results. Can I see it? I'm afraid not. It's currently in use. As we walked past the integration suite, I heard something that made my blood run cold. Screaming. Quickly muffled, but definitely screaming. What was that? I asked. Probably just a participant having a breakthrough moment. The conditioning process can be emotionally intense. Jennifer, that sounded like someone in pain. Maya, I assure you that participant safety is our top priority. No one is ever harmed during the conditioning process. Then why was someone screaming? Sometimes breaking through psychological barriers can be vocal. That evening, Dr. Chen invited me to dinner at an expensive restaurant in downtown Shanghai. So, she said over wine that probably cost more than my car, "What did you think of our facility?" Impressive, very comprehensive. Maya, I'm going to be direct with you. We rarely find candidates with your particular combination of skills and psychological profile. What kind of psychological profile? Resilient, independent, comfortable with uncertainty. Most people need the safety of familiar routines and relationships. You've demonstrated that you can thrive outside your comfort zone. I suppose that's true. Our program works best with people who are psychologically flexible, people who can adapt to new identities and loyalties without experiencing cognitive dissonance. New identities? As part of your cultural training, you'll temporarily adopt different personas. It helps with integration. Temporarily? During the conditioning process, yes. When the program is complete, you'll have access to all of these personas as needed for your work. I thought about Liu Wei's description of the girls who'd returned from this program. New skills, new languages, but no memories of who they used to be. Dr. Chen, what happens to my original personality during this process? Think of it as updating your software. The core of who you are remains intact, but we optimize your capabilities. And if I decide partway through that I want to stop? Maya, once the conditioning process begins, you won't remember wanting to stop. You'll be fully committed to the program. But what if the original me, the me sitting here right now, what if she would want to stop? Dr. Chen set down her wine glass and studied me carefully. Maya, are you having second thoughts? I'm just trying to understand what I'm signing up for. You're signing up for the opportunity to become the best possible version of yourself. Imagine speaking 6 languages fluently, understanding 12 different cultures at an intuitive level, having the skills to succeed anywhere in the world, at the cost of forgetting who I am now, at the cost of outgrowing who you are now. We sat in silence for a moment. Maya, can I ask you something? What are you running from? I'm not running from anything. A woman doesn't drive around the world alone unless she's either running from something or running towards something very specific. Which is it? I thought about Jake, about my old life, about all the choices I'd made in the past year. Maybe both, I said. Then this program might be exactly what you need, a chance to become someone new, someone better. Dr. Chen, how many women have completed your program? Over the past 5 years, maybe 200. And how many have had problems with the conditioning process? Define problems. How many have been permanently damaged? Maya, our success rate is over 95%. What happened to the other 5%? Some people aren't psychologically compatible with advanced conditioning. We screen very carefully to minimize that risk. But it does happen, rarely, and when it does, we provide the best possible care. What kind of care? Maya, you're asking a lot of questions for someone who's interested in joining our program. I realized I'd pushed too hard. I'm sorry, I'm just nervous. This is a big decision. Of course it is. That's why we have a trial period. Trial period? The first week of conditioning is reversible. If you're not completely satisfied with the process, we can restore your original memories and you're free to leave. And after the first week? After the first week, the changes become permanent.